I have a question on as far as the existing budget. You're talking about $45,000. Are you talking about taking that out of the existing budget, or are you wanting more money besides what the existing budget is? Because I would think that we have savings there because we have 2 less employees. I'd just like to know, where we stand with that budget.
Okay, that's a good question. The Finance Committee of Team Santa Rosa met a week ago today to review where we were on our income and our outgo year to date and through the end of the fiscal year because, well, I for one was worried about running out of cash. And what the staff produced with the help of the treasurer was a projection which shows that we should be about within $5,000 of where we had budgeted to be as of the end of our fiscal year, which is September 30th. One of the things that I didn't realize after Cindy Anderson was discharged, of course, she had a contractual severance pay in the contract that Team signed with her many years ago. But there was also, she had to be paid for her vacation and for a portion of her sick leave. So when she got let go, she was paid almost as much as she would have been paid if she had stayed until September 30th. So there wasn't that big savings that I had in my mind. And when I heard that, that's when I started to get concerned that we had enough money. Now, the other problem is because of all the comings and goings in this room in the last 6 months and the decisions that have been made from y'all, we've scared off a lot of the private support, and our private support is way off. Now, hopefully we can rebuild that trust. But right now, yeah, we're not in great financial shape, but we're okay. We should end the year, like I said, within $5,000 of where we expected. Now, there's a separate budget for Team Santa Rosa. It's $50,000, which we traditionally set aside for marketing, and we have not made a request for that $50,000 this year, this fiscal year, and that's where I propose the money would come from to do this recruiting. And while it's not directly marketing, it's our future in marketing. And so, I don't know that it's going to be 45. I hope it'll be a lot less. But we didn't want to wait until we had negotiated the contract to come back to you because we want to keep this process moving. We're looking to have the recruiter we hire boots on ground this month. So by the end of the month, we can have a document that says, okay, this is the kind of person we're looking for. This is the criteria that we're using. So basically, the $50,000 budget is sort of set aside, but we hadn't asked for it until now. So, but it's a different budget than our ongoing operating expense. But then again, recruiting is hopefully a once in a 10-year expense too.
You made a comment that this, by decisions of this board, that some of the private sector money was they decided not to invest. What kind of money do you think you're talking about there that was lost? I wasn't looking on Monday during the Finance Committee meeting at the losses. I was just looking at what we had, and it was commented that there's some substantial money, tens of thousands of dollars that haven't come in this year that had come in last year, but I don't know the exact number.
Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with a lot of things that each commissioner said, but I think the trust is a two-way street. I'm not prepared to allocate any additional new money to team until we get the bylaws changes implemented that we requested back in March. To me, that's a first step. And then if we need to allocate more to conduct an executive director search, I think team can come back to this board and ask for that allocation. I'll agree with Commissioner Cole. I think Shannon has been doing a great job in the last couple of months. I don't think we've missed a beat in economic development over the past 6 months, 8 months. And we've got a lot of projects in the pipeline, a lot of projects hopefully close to announcing. So I'm comfortable where we are right now, but I do want to see those bylaws changes implemented before we allocate any additional new funds to team.
Another item that falls right along with bylaws is we keep hearing Team Santa Rosa. And I wonder when Economic Development Board is going to remove team, and because one of the requirements or one of the requests that this board has was the retitling or remarketing, and I keep hearing Team Santa Rosa, and I would like to start referring to that. And of course, it's going to take your board action.
Yeah, as the EDC, that's a good point,
EDC.
Commissioner.
I understand that they're hiring a new receptionist today, and I asked Shannon to instruct her to answer the phone that way.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us.
And the videotape that you just watched was from a recent county commission meeting. And, you know, Deborah, I just don't think we're there yet with economic development.
Not yet.
We're not there yet.
Where is there? What?
Well,
maybe there's no there.
Well, let's go back to what three of the commissioners had to say, and actually there's even been Bob Cole's kind of come in on that side. Now, the commissioners said at the beginning of this that they wanted a qualified individual as the CEO of Team Santa Rosa.
Right. And my question to that was what define qualified individual for that particular job?
Well, I think when you look at the previous holder of that seat, having an engineering degree does not qualify you to be in charge of economic development.
Well, and I mean, you're putting me again in that position, and I'll, devil's advocate. She was originally put in charge of a function that had to do with dealing with county property and the disposition of county property and
Right.
stuff like that, which is an engineering function.
Right, and I don't disagree with that, but it was time to have someone that was more in tune, maybe some years of experience, maybe with actually a resume of actually bringing a job into someplace where that. So the commissioners, as we started this journey in 2011, towards the end of the year, was to have a qualified individual as the CEO to change the name of the organization and to rewrite the bylaws. We went through the transition committee, and folks, we're done with the transition committee. I will state emphatically, pretty much all the main thing that got accomplished was we removed the current CEO. And but it was pretty much reconstituted exactly like it was. I mean, and I will repeat what Don Salter said. We put a group of people in a room and it's democracy, and you didn't win the vote. Well, he's right. I'm not disagreeing with that.
And what did I tell you would happen? What did I predict would happen at the end of that
Yes.
process?
I will look in the camera and say that Deborah Nelson said that it would be
exactly the same.
pretty much the same.
Exactly the same.
So here's the issue that we have now, and in the videotape that we showed you was Dave Hawksing, the chairman of Team Santa Rosa, and look, I mean, there's a lot of video evidence to prove what I'm about to say is. He's been one stumbling block after another on pushing against the commissioners, what the commissioners have asked him to do.
Well, let me just interject this quickly, because this goes to the heart of this problem, is you have a group of people, the county commission, that have insisted that you need a private organization to do whatever this function is.
I think some of them are changing their mind now.
So then you get this separate board, and they put him in there to head up this board, and now they're upset because he wants to function as a separate organization.
Right.
I mean, you can't have it both ways.
And look, all the things that we looked at, and the things that was said specifically from October of last year till now was new CEO. Change the bylaws so that the taxpayers are protected, and change the name. And the only thing that's occurred is that Ms. Anderson is no longer the CEO, and that was a 4-month battle back and forth in the press and all that before that finally occurred. So the videotape that you saw, here we have the chairman of Team Santa Rosa, who has been told emphatically over and over by multiple members of the county commissioners, both at county commission meetings, that with the cameras rolling, microphones turned on, and he's only accomplished one out of the 3 things that they've requested. So Mr. Hawksing walks up to the podium and says, "Well, I'm here today to get $45,000 from you for a CEO search," and I think pretty much all 4 commissioners, all but Don Salter, said we believe it's a time to slow down on this search issue. Shannon, the current director right now, is doing a real good job, and quite honestly, and it was echoed by multiple commissioners, that the bylaws and the name needs to be changed. There's not going to be any additional money, and you know, they had gone so far as to have it narrowed down to 3 headhunters, and folks, I'm getting an education as all this stuff is unfolding myself. There are individuals scattered across the United States of America that specialize in doing searches for employees for specific jobs.
It fascinates me that they collect $45,000 to do that.
Well, some additional information came my way. They asked for $45,000. There was actually 3 people that followed up on a RFP that we would like this job. There was one of them that said, "We want 8 today, we want 8 when we bring the candidates in, and we want 8 when we finish." 24,000. The low bidder was 24,000. It was a company in Mississippi that apparently had a pretty good resume. So 45 was the most expensive of the 3, and
Well, we historically, Santa Rosa County, prefer to go with the most expensive.
yeah, well, yeah, no matter whether there's appraisals or not, we always go
We'd
for
rather
the
just
top.
go ahead and spend the money.
So basically, the commissioners pushed off and said, "Oh, whoa, time out. You know, bylaws and a name change." And folks, look, I continue to be amazed at the number of people through our community that when I see them at a restaurant or when I happen to walk into them somewhere, they look at me and say, "Well, you're heading in the right direction, but you're not there yet." You know, and one of the things that I've said over and over, and Jim Melvin campaigned on it, and he beat a sitting commissioner. He campaigned on a complete overhaul of economic development in Santa Rosa County.
Yes.
I just don't, you know, I'm always the eternal optimist, but I have expressed to several people that I think we're going down the, you know, we slowed down and things was looking a little better again, but here we are, we're going down the wrong road again. And
Let's remember, originally, way back when this thing was conceived, and some of the players are still...
Jeff Miller,
Miller was what?
Don Salter.
Right, exactly, and some other people. In my personal opinion, this thing was conceived as a way to separate certain activities from the county commission itself, where you could kind of put it under...
So they couldn't see it, you mean?
Yeah, you could put it under the table. What they were not following sunshine law back then, didn't for years until we got on them.
Right.
And so this is a way to keep it separate from the county commission, but yet the county commission would, you know, obviously we know they were influencing it. They had their people running as the executive director, and they had their people. I think they had people strategically placed on the board as well. I mean, if you look at the activities that have the team's been done over the years. Right. So that was the original function, and now all of a sudden they said, well, now they've embarrassed us. Now we've got to rein them in. We've got to pull them in a little closer. So now they're in a situation where, we've been saying this for 2 years. This thing has no function at this point. Right. There really is. There's no point to this thing. They said, oh, we want it to be separate. We want local companies to be helping out and putting their input in and all this other stuff. We want it separate, but yet we want to run it as well.
Well,
they can't make up their mind. You can't have it both ways.
You know what? One of the things, and you know, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Here's the difference between the former team organization and we'll talk about the Pensacola Chamber. They brought in Jim Heiser from Kentucky. He came in here right out of the bat. Somebody stabbed him in the back and he fired him. He gained a lot of folks' trust in that. But the one thing that I note over and over and over with the Pensacola Chamber and Mr. Heiser, they have a news conference when the new business, when the ink is dry on the contract and they're preparing to do the ribbon cutting. our organization to date 5 times has said 800 jobs is coming in here. A couple times they've said 400 jobs is coming here. A couple times they've said 500 jobs is coming here, and none of those have ever materialized.
Well, but they've never been subject to results.
Right.
Performance standards, as far as that's never been even a part of the equation.
Even though they've been under a contract for 3 years that specifically says that, but they thumb their nose at the contract too.
Well, they never had a specific. You will bring in X number of jobs per year. Was not in that contract.
No, it didn't say that, but it said you'll give a report. They've not. They wasn't even given a report on what they're doing.
That didn't happen.
You know, one of the things, and when it was said, I actually went forward on that meeting, folks. The question was asked: has team fulfilled their contract? And the county administrator indicated that they had. And I walked forward and I said, well, if they have for the last 3 years, I'd like to see the jobs report. I'd like to see the analysis. I would like to see everything that's in the contract. And what I got back was, well, Mr. Cooey, I said, I don't believe they have fulfilled the contract.
Right.
You know, look, folks, every day in your life, if you work a job, there's performance standards for you. Look, I have performance standards with my wife. She expects me to keep her in a car and buy food for her. And, you know, everybody has performance standards, with the exception of economic development in Santa Rosa County.
Well, anywhere else, really. That's not the only. We're not the only place where they're running wild like that.
It just, and now we have a chairman, Dave Hawksey. He walks forward. He's completely ignored 2/3 of what the commissioners ask him to do and says, I'm here to pick up $45,000.
Yeah.
And even said, the one that killed me was, well, you know, y'all normally set aside $50,000 for advertising, so I'm really not having to ask for any more money. Just give me 45 of the 50 and we won't do any advertising. We'll use this to hire a CEO.
Yeah. Although, again, in his defense, they're saying, well, we want a public-private agency. We still want that buffer zone of a public-private agency, but we want to tell you what to do.
Let me say that again, because the way things are going right now, my gut tells me that there's probably some folks, some commissioners that have votes that are starting to think it would possibly be a good idea to bring it under the county. By all accounts, by everybody that I've talked to, since Miss Anderson has been gone, Shannon has really stepped up to the plate and he's taken the bull by the horn, and everybody seems to be pleased with what he's doing. And I say, move it under the county, hire Shannon, new name. There would be no bylaws. It would be, Shannon, you work for us now. You need to keep the commissioners with communication. You need to let us know what we need. We're going to check with you periodically. And then once we get it back on track again, then if we want to have another organization, have one.
Well, and see, here's what I see. 6 years in, and you're still not looking for the scam. Here's how I see the scam developing. They know they're going to be scrutinized no matter what. Does not matter, public, private, under the county, doesn't matter, they're going to be scrutinized. So now, instead of being the buffer zone where you pass things under the table, not subject to sunshine law, now the only viable function for this agency, for the scam artists who are always jumping on board these kinds of things, is that they're going to now be a vehicle to get public dollars from Santa Rosa County. And then they're going to, we've already heard about the partnership with the Chamber of Commerce in Escambia and so on and so forth. Well, the Chamber in Escambia is still claiming that they're not subject to sunshine law.
Right.
And with the vast amount of money that they get over there, they're stepping in the shoes of governments.
Right.
Nobody's taken them to court yet. So they're still have separated themselves from sunshine law. So what I'm telling you, I'm predicting is going to happen. Team Santa Rosa, or whatever they want to call it, will be the vehicle by which dollars are extracted from our pockets. And then they just redirect them to Escambia, to the Pensacola Chamber, and then they can be laundered from there.
Well, here's in unchecked, I don't doubt that might occur. here's what we're looking at now, folks. We have 5 county commissioners, and if there's a decent prospect, and we've already seen the commissioners step up one time to say, well, if you get this one, we'll do this. I don't see us getting in a situation of a scam.
It's the eternal carrot on the stick.
But I do not see us getting in a situation where a scammy that we send taxpayer money to a scammy county for an incentive.
Like the remember the $200,000 marketing scam?
And that was while Team Santa Rosa was not following the sunshine,
Yes,
and nobody
right.
could break through.
That is true.
I don't see that happening anymore.
But let's just remind everybody, $200,000 was extracted from Santa Rosa County.
Actually, more than that.
Yes.
Birdwell.
Right. And it went directly to a no-bid contract,
Right.
Birdwell Enterprises or whatever they're called.
And we never got one lead off of it.
Right. PR firm. We went. You and I went in and looked at Team Santa Rosa. There were some forms that were filled out and some reports that were filed.
Yeah.
From that, and $200,000 is gone.
Yeah. You know what? One thing, folks, I think, and Deborah will agree with me. One thing that we've noticed is that at least some of the people involved in economic development, they must have scored very well in creative writing when they were in college.
They're
it was
professionals.
Was very good with that. But
well, they've been a grant writing machine. That's the other thing, is they've been a grant writing machine for years and years and years. And $170,000 here from the federal government. They never follow up on that.
Right.
That's still a perfectly viable function for them. The money's coming in, and again, now they're just going to have to launder it through the Pensacola Chamber before they can hand it out. But I'm telling you today, it will be laundered and it will be handed out.
Well, we shall see. But I think the upcoming county commission meeting is going to be very telling, and I expect it to be quite interested and lively. Now we're going to move over to something else, folks, and we try to stay close to Santa Rosa County, but we have an issue coming up, and look, this issue is the prime reason for the Sunshine Law. It is the prime reason for transparency, accountability, and it is a prime example of, even though some of that was in place, how quickly the train gets derailed off the track.
Yeah.
Now what we're talking about is Okaloosa County. Okaloosa County in
Tourist Development County.
Yeah, very, very quickly, let me tell you the highlights of Okaloosa County right now. Their sheriff and 6 members of the sheriff's department over there was arrested by the, 2 of them arrested by the FBI and went to federal penitentiary. 5 more of them was found guilty with the state attorney's office and are in prison. The Crestview City Council was found abusing emails. The Crestview Chief of Police and the second one in charge was dismissed. The Fort Walton Beach lead person was let go just in the last couple days, and the Okaloosa County Commission was abusing the Sunshine Law on emails and all of that kind of stuff. And now we have the Okaloosa County Tourism Director. Now, folks, every county in the state of Florida has a TDC set up. It is set up by the state of Florida. It is a legislatively fulfilled organization that every county in the state of Florida has.
And they are subject to the Sunshine Law.
And they are subject to the Sunshine Law. Well, Okaloosa County hired a new person about 2 years ago. And he was marvelous, and he was wonderful, and life is good. And Okaloosa County collects way better than $4 million a year off of bed taxes for the TDC. And recently they found where he bought without authorization, and here we go, checks and balances, accountability and transparency, he was able to write a check for $710,000. He bought a yacht from a marina down there, and what he first said was, well, I didn't want to let anybody know about it because I'm going to use it in this year's promotion for the beach.
It was a surprise.
All right, so he comes in before the Board of County Commissioners, and a couple of them wanted to fire him right then, but they didn't. Between the morning meeting and the evening meeting, he officially resigned, so they couldn't take any action on him. And then, lo and behold, we find a $750, or yeah, about close to $750,000 house that he was living in that seems to have miraculously appeared, allegedly, potentially, don't know yet, the investigation's still going on, potentially could have come out of the BP dollars that each county got. And, you know, sadly, they found him in Alabama, and he died of a drug overdose. I was very pleased to see that the new sheriff of Okaloosa County, Larry Ashley, said, and I quote, "Although this is a tragic situation of the passing of the former TDC director, I will continue to work hand in hand with the FBI while we unravel this." So it's early on, and folks, that's just an example of how quickly they just didn't have the oversight there. And so basically $1.5 million, poof, gone.
Well, I think it also speaks to the atmosphere, this whole economic development milieu, where it's, you know, all this free government money coming at them. Grab what you can, get what you can for yourself. It's almost like a casino gambling mentality, you know, and cash in as soon as you can. And this guy, I mean, is very sad, and of course we, you know, are sorry for his family. This guy apparently, you know, it looks like he was just doing, you know, he was just playing as long as he could, and it finally just came home for him. Right.
One final thing as we close out the show, in a previous show, I got a little crossed up in something that I said, and I want to correct that. When we were discussing the landfill in East Milton, it was actually a company called Suncoast that had the a permit to have a 7.5 acre landfill site. The blue water that we were discussing is actually set at about 160 acres right now, so I wanted to correct that. So hope you've enjoyed the show. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night.